Hello. Welcome to Season 10 of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. In each episode, we both watch the same movie on our own and then record a conversation together about what we liked, what we hated, if we were scared, and maybe even some larger truths about why people watch horror movies in the first place. This season, our theme is Because We Have the Microphone. And because we have the microphone, you will listen as we discuss a bunch of movies that we just kind of feel like watching with no rhyme or reason. Think of it as a collection of movies that we've referenced a lot in previous seasons or been curious about for a long time. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the episode. Seems like just yesterday we had a call to talk about how excited we were about kicking off Season 10.
It does.
And now it's all behind us.
Oh, yeah, it's all behind us. Yep, it's done.
I'm pissed.
Me too, man. Just born pissed.
Yeah. It's been a fun one. I feel like we've had a lot of positive experiences. I feel like not all of them have been, but the general idea was that we were picking movies that either we had talked about a lot in previous episodes, but somehow like never gotten around to, or that we were embarrassed about never having seen as horror aficionados. Or they were movies that we felt like did a good job of using horror elements in a non-horror setting, but like did it with such mastery that horror movies could take something away from it.
Right.
And I feel like that's really important because I feel like that really shows the power of horror as a genre over time and the impact that it's had on other types of film, and is like a really good piece of evidence for all of the things that we love about horror.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the good reasons. I know we're talking about season 10, but the good reasons why we did like the 100 Years of Horror too. So we could have a season like this and better understand, so we can understand like, why is High Plains Drifter in this? Well, we can tell you why. Like, these are some examples that we saw just, a couple, in that season where we were watching, all these older horror movies, and it was just kind of nice for it all to come to a full circle.
Yeah, definitely building perspective has been a big part of what we've done with all these episodes, over the course of 10 seasons is, we kind of came into it with these scattershot thoughts about, we know we like horror. Let's talk about it. And as time goes on and you watch a lot of movies and you're paying closer attention and taking notes, you just kind of build up a lot different appreciation, I think. And so it's really, really rewarding when a movie that you remember fondly still like delivers under like that critical eye. But then it also sets you up to be kind of disappointed by some. And I think season 10 had a healthy dose of both. It
definitely did. It had some of my favorites of all time, not just horror movies in it, but it definitely had some downers too. I'm talking about you, Parasite.
Well, what's funny is I have a feeling that some of my highlights are going to be your lowlights and vice versa. So,
let's see. I think we both had the same highlight.
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe. Nightcrawler, dude.
Nightcrawler is on my list. So I had a list.
If it's not number one, I will cut you.
Well, I didn't put numbers on them.
Oh.
But it was A.
Okay. That works.
But my list.
I didn't use numbers, but don't worry. I got letters on them. That's all I needed, man.
Anyway, so my list has 3 sections.
Okay.
The first section is movies that I'm just so glad I finally watched. Yeah. Because, like, for a long time, it's been, like, in the back of my mind that I needed to watch them. But I've gotten into this weird thing where, like, I don't really want to watch a horror movie unless we're doing an episode on it. Mm-hmm. Because if I haven't seen it, I want to watch it for the first time before we talk about it.
Yeah, that's responsible.
Yeah, but now I have some that I finally had the excuse to watch and I'm happy about. And then I had the ones that were, like, pleasantly surprising, and then the ones that were unpleasantly surprising. So where do you want to start?
I was drunk for a lot of this season, so I don't remember much. No, the truth is, with this season, I had a kid in August, and it was between...
Playing that card already, huh?
It was between season 10, episode episode C, episode 3, and episode 4. So there are definitely, like, like movies that we reviewed, like I have like had trouble remembering, so I had to like read about it a little bit. Talk about you like Beyond the Door and Backcountry, like a couple that I knew I liked, but I was like, wait, what? So for the record, it's a little hazy, but so is my life right now. So what can you do?
Yeah, you live to learn to live with the haze.
Yeah,
it's just part of surviving.
You're damn right.
So my list has 3 sections. Where would you like to start?
Oh, sorry. Let's start with section A.
Okay. So we can start with movies that I'm really excited to have finally watched.
Yeah.
And the 3 I had on that list were The People Under the Stairs, Army of Darkness, and Sinister. And I feel like, most of those would not necessarily be on my list of like the 50 scariest movies of all time, but I feel like they are all important contributors to the genre, and I am happy that I have finally watched them.
I like it, dude. I think so. For me, I definitely seen some of these already. Our Army of Darkness was one just because we had just done the other 2.
Yeah.
So I was like ready for it. Sinister obviously was another because I don't think either one of us seen it, but we always saw the trailer. Yeah. It was like we always saw the trailer, but or like seen the picture like on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. I've always seen it. I don't know why I never watched it. And then Peninsula was the other one, and I'm saying that more so from the sense of like I'm glad we watched it. It was definitely,
it's good to check the box.
Yeah. It's like at least we so if we say like, hey, Train to Busan's one of our, or I'll say one of my favorites, and they say, well, have you seen the follow-up? I haven't seen it yet. What do you think? It's like I can tell them, you don't do it. No, just kidding.
No, I feel like it's a good test, because now if somebody's like, oh yeah, you totally have to see it, you can say, no, you don't. And then you don't have to pretend to think that you might be friends with them.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
It's a filter.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows I need more excuses to be antisocial.
What about B, though?
So I'm going to skip to 3.
Okay.
And that is the unpleasant surprises. Because I just kind of want to get those out of the way.
Yeah.
Won't surprise you, Halloween Kills was at the top of my list of disappointments. Mm-hmm. And that really wasn't even like a main one that we had planned on doing, but it just happened to come out while we were recording, and so we both saw it, and it was available on HBO Max and in the theater or Peacock, something. It was on something. So, I was so excited because I got to go see it in a theater, and I was like hyped, and it was like movie popcorn. This is like my triumphant return to the theater after all this time in quarantine, and I was going to eat movie popcorn. It was going to be great. And then the movie, started off like with a really good scene, and then was just downhill from there on, in my opinion. And it just left me feeling sad about like the movie going experience in general. And that's a terrible place for me to be, because normally I love it.
Mm-hmm. It's what I like to consider. I like to consider a movie theater my comfort zone. It may be from like,
absolutely.
Working there for when I was younger, it's like my first real job, like my second real job. And like, so you go in there, and it's like for people like us that aren't the most social butterflies, I feel like you're definitely more social than I am, but we're not to Donnie's level, that's social butterfly. But for you and I, it's like, we're in dark, we get movie theater popcorn. We both have this like fascination with movie theater popcorn.
Yes.
I ate it for 3 years straight, basically. So I started when I was 16 and left the movie theater when I was about 19, off and on. And I ate it straight. People said, you're going to get sick of it, you're going to hate it. I still crave it to today.
Yeah.
But it's like you're in a dark setting, you got to watch that, and then, the movie comes on, and just a little bit of a bummer.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that was definitely one for me as well.
It was like bad enough that I'm not excited for the third one.
Yeah, no, 100%. Which I think we decided was called Halloween Ends, was what they were calling it. But
thankfully,
yeah, we'll see about that. I will say, we'll obviously still watch it, because I want to know, first off, if it does. And, I want to also see them, I hope that they end, if it is the actual end, which I doubt it, that they treat it right, because Halloween, the original, is one of my all-time favorites, and it's just my comfort zone. October hits, that's the first one that, that's the first one we play. The first Christmas movie I play in December is Christmas Vacation. Those are on the same level.
I thought you were going to say Halloween.
Yeah, it's a Christmas
Halloween
movie too. Yeah, it's the same area. So that was definitely a letdown. I was definitely let down personally by Parasite. Just not. It just wasn't. It just didn't. There wasn't very much cohesion in my brain for that one. Yet again, could have been a late night kind of thing, and watching it was trying to stay awake. And this season, I had to learn how to watch movies again, basically, because it's not just like being able to push play and go. Yeah. It's you push play and you're like, oh, he had a blowout. Can you go change him? You kind of, so it's learning all that back together, or learning back.
Well, but I think too with Parasite, you went into it with the expectation that it was a sold out horror movie. And when I went to see it, it was just some like non-US indie movie that looked weird in the trailers. Yeah. And I feel like the trailer definitely played up, like it definitely presented it with many of like the horror tropes that you would expect from like a normal kind of Hollywood type movie. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the movie itself wasn't necessarily trying to be that. And so I think if you went into it just expecting like a weird independent film and you're like, oh, they did some like kind of cool horror stuff in that, versus you went into it expecting it to be like an actual horror movie that had all these accolades and was, critically praised as a horror movie, then it was like a totally different thing that it delivered. And so I could see it being a lot less enjoyable for you in that set of circumstances.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's for sure it. 100%. It was just, I don't know if a lot of times people tell me stuff and I act like I listen. I don't. So maybe I wasn't saying that to you. I would say that more so like, I bet people were like, hey, no, this isn't actually a horror. And I just had it in my head and I was just like, okay. And just win it. Yeah. I'd be willing to bet. My third, though, would be Murders in Rue Morgue. In the Rue Morgue.
And what do you remember of that one?
That one is a short story by Edgar Allan Poe. Thank you very much. Yes. It came back to me when I couldn't pronounce it this episode also. But that was definitely what, the thing is like you hear Edgar Allan Poe, he's like the greatest horror novelist, or I don't know, whatever you hear about him. And I just wanted so much from it. Like I wanted, I don't know, I just wanted so much, and it definitely kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, so another one that was on my list that was really disappointing was Prisoners. And the main reason was that I remembered it so fondly. And I was like, oh, this movie is so intense. And then I realized almost all of my memories from it were from like the first 45 minutes. And then there was like another hour and 45 minutes after that. Mm-hmm. And I think it did really have like a lot of horror themes, like the idea of, serial killers and copycat killers and the investigation and all of that stuff. But it just really didn't handle the pacing well. And I think that, I really wanted to go back to it and have it be like a suspense thriller type horror, when really it was more of like a drama. And so that one kind of fell flat for me compared to what I hoped it would be. I still think it did some things really well. It had some really like good, intense, kind of like moody horror stuff going on, but it just didn't maintain it well through the whole movie. And so for like the last 45 minutes, I was thinking that I needed to apologize to you for making you sit through it.
I think that one though, like, was one of the few that we were just like kind of at odds for, because like of the style of the, like the revenge of it. Like I got that part, but it was like more like a novel book kind of idea. But here's the thing though. I feel like I've had a couple people reach out like that I know in real life, and that listen to the podcast, and that was one that I've talked about the most with them. And talking with them, it was just interesting to see like their excitement, knowing that we've done it, or like they know I did do the podcast, and they're like, so what's one did you just post? And it was Backcountry, or Prisoners, and I was just like told them, and it was exciting to be able to talk to them because like they had a total different feeling, but they weren't going into it the same way I was, and it was just like, it opened my eyes a little bit more. Now, did I go back and watch it? No, because it's a 3-hour plus movie. It feels like it's not really. And it's just like, okay, I'll do it, but like, I'll cut out the fluff. But it does like, it was a letdown, but I don't think it's one of the worst movies of all time.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah. I thought that was going to be one that was really like a smash hit, like some of the others that are on my positives list, and it wasn't. So it just kind of let me down a little bit more. But and then the last thing on my disappointments list was Terra Firma, and again, my apologies. I thought we were getting into something very different than we did. Yeah. That one is not available to stream anywhere, so you don't have to worry about accidentally watching it.
I think for me, like when I was going through mine, I was just like, does it even need to be said? Kind of thing. It's like, it was kind of obvious with that one if you listen to it, how we felt. Also, I apologize for doing mine after you only did one. I don't know why I just kept going.
Oh, no, it was fine. We don't have any real structure. We're just kind of talking.
Man, it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'm ready to move on to section 1, and you already know what is 1A, but do you want to know what my 1C was?
What was it?
So this was positive surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, D. My bad.
Oh, okay.
My 1D was Parasite. I really enjoyed it, and I thought that a couple of the scenes were just super intense and super well done, and the fact that they put that much, like, good horror execution into a movie that won Academy Awards makes me a little bit proud and happy.
Okay. Well, hey, my number 1 doesn't need to have all those awards. It's called Ninja 3: The Domination.
Excellent. I had a feeling.
It doesn't need to have awards, Daniel.
Yeah.
It's a good movie on its own. I loved it, dude.
Yeah.
That's my...
Listen. And that was very much like an 80s action possession movie.
Dude, I got goosebumps thinking about that movie. Like, that's just my... Listen, I might as well be from South Dakota because I'm into trash.
Got him.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself, South Dakota. My second, though... Well, here's the problem. Like, some of these, like, I knew kind of getting myself into, and one of them was I had already watched it, but just one that, like, I just fell in love with so much more was Nightcrawler, dude.
Yes.
Like,
that was my 1A.
Yeah, I mean, like, I will say, like, I just had to start on this because, like, going through the list, it's like I couldn't wait to talk about it anymore. Yeah. Nightcrawler is easily one of my all-time favorite films now. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is insane in there. Like, it's just, in my opinion, one of the few, like, what I would consider almost like a perfect film. Like, I love it that much. And I don't know if I loved it as much when you and I watched it initially, and I don't know if mindset, maybe I'm just getting crazier and I relate more or something, but it's like, that was just great. It was on point. Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, insane. So good.
That is one that is real high on my list of, if I ever somehow gain control of a movie theater, that is a movie I will be so excited to play there. Like, and we've talked about this before, like, maybe eventually we'll just quit podcasting and buy a movie theater and then just show the movies we want to show, and then just talk about them there with people, because those are the people I want to meet. I want to meet the people who in 2025 or 2035 or whenever this happens will go be excited to line up and see Nightcrawler in a theater, because it's one that I feel like not enough people know about and is just a damn good film all around.
No, I agree. I mean, if you're listening to this and you legit haven't seen it, please do, and like, please just tell us like what you think of it. Yeah. But I don't know if I've talked to anyone that's watched it that hasn't enjoyed it. Just, I mean, I was telling, I made, so I have a couple guys that kind of report to me a little bit, at work, and I forced them to watch it. definitely like stepped over some lines, and they both came back and like we had like probably like a 2-hour conversation about the film. It was just like they were kind of, I guess, I'm saying it's one of the all-time greatest, but for me it is. Like I just thought it was amazing. So I hope you guys like it, and I think you should listen to it.
Well, and again, that kind of is like the paramount of what we talked about for season 10 of like movies that do horror things really well to support an entry in a different genre. And I feel like that's just like, yes, the whole season, that is the best example of that thing that we kept talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a couple other ones for me were High Plains Drifter. I thought that held up really well with the theme of the season. And that is a movie, that we've both loved for a long time. And, we've threatened to quit and start a Westerns podcast for years at this point. But we kind of got to have the best of both worlds with that one. And I liked it. And I had totally forgot about like the supernatural twist at the end. So that was a pleasant surprise too. That's even kind of further in that same vein.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, definitely a classic. I mean, I loved, like I was saying in that podcast, like, I grew up on the John Wayne side of like Westerns. That was just my dad's favorite, my papa's favorite. And as I kind of got older and could watch what I wanted, that's when I think I got more into the Clint Eastwood Westerns.
Yeah.
And it just, it definitely opens your eyes because it's like, these seem a little bit more realistic, here. That was definitely a great one. I mean, there's a lot on this list that like I just loved. People Under Stairs. That's has a very close spot to my heart because that was one that me and my dad actually bonded over. That was one that I know it sounds weird, but considering the content of the film, but it was one of his favorites. And just being able to kind of watch it, I just love it. It was really good. But my number one favorite was Nightcrawler, but another one that I thoroughly enjoyed was the Nightingale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that one.
I enjoyed parts of it. I still am just very upset about the ending on that one. The ending left a very bad taste in my mouth. And I think that's one where I was guilty of going in expecting a very like horrific horror movie, even though like there was nothing to make me think that other than that I was just so excited about the Babadook and the director doing another project that I projected too much of what I wanted to be on it, I think.
Yeah.
So it just didn't land in any way. So if you could have gone into it fresh and like see it for the first time and then just think like, oh yeah, this is a really good, really intense movie, then I think you would have a different reaction. But I was just kind of disappointed through most of it.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that. I think for me, my like all-time favorite all-time favorite movie is Last of the Mohicans, and I like the whole traveling.
Oh, very similar vibes.
Yeah, and so like that's why it was like, okay, this hits home for me. Like this is one that I am, all aboard. Like I'm ready to go. Yeah, definitely hit home. Remind me of like a darker, like Quigley Down Under a little bit, so it's, yeah, that was definitely one of the favorites on the list that of like one that I hadn't seen before watching this that, I watched for the first time. I mean, House of a Thousand Corpses on my list. I know we are only doing like 1A to 1, 2, 3C. And then, but, I didn't want to do that. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer was also really good, too, but I felt like Nightingale beat that out as my favorite of the season.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other one I had on my list of like the pleasant surprises was Shutter Island. That was another one that I wasn't sure how it was going to hold up, but even like knowing the twists and stuff, that ending part where he finds his wife and she's drowned the kids and then he ends up shooting her, like all of that, it was just that like you're so fully pulled into what's happening on the screen and then you just like feel your stomach drop. Like I feel like that is such the essence of horror, is like you lose all hope, and that movie did a really good job of it. And so many things about the way it was made and the shots and the cinematography and the acting and stuff I thought were just excellent. And so that was one where I was a little curious, like coming back to it. Am I still going to be like as positive about this movie as I was before? And I definitely was.
Yeah.
So that's one that I am excited to watch again. Like it held up, you know, and I think it's also a good example of one that does a lot of things really well from a maybe things that you would expect to see in a horror movie, but also just with movie making in general.
Yeah, I agree. At least Terra Firma wasn't your number one.
I just doubled down on that bad decision.
It's the one I hated the most, but I loved it the most.
It's the one I hated the most, but it's the one I now own.
No. I pulled it out. It was still in my DVD player from when we watched it, and I was putting in a Christmas movie, and I saw it, and I panicked because the DVD, like the coating on the DVD, looked like a porn. And I was like, what the? And then I was like, oh, that's Terra Firma. I swear to God, like I thought that. I was like, who the heck?
Yeah. Also, I am Skyping from a federal penitentiary for purchasing that movie twice. So you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Took one for the team.
Yep.
Too bad it couldn't been a great movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it. Season 10.
Great season, man.
In the books. And we are not done yet. However, Season 11 will look a little different.
Yeah.
We've kind of been doing this whole, like, watch a movie, talk about it every week for almost every week since early 2017. And it's probably time to change it up a little bit. Yeah, we're bouncing around some ideas. Season 11 will be back pretty quickly, and we're going to keep things moving, but we'll have some more announcements on, like, what that'll look like. Still going to be horror focused, still going to talk a lot about horror movies and maybe get into some other horror stuff as well. And I'm excited to explore that world with you. And hope everybody had a good new year and is excited for new beginnings in 2022.
I don't hope that they do, but I agree with everything else. I want 2022 to be the worst year of your lives, you sons of bitches.
Oh, good luck. After the last two.
Just keeps getting worse and worse, man. That was actually directed towards South Dakota and Alaska.
Yeah. Well, and I hope for an extra good year in 2022 for Australia.
That's true. Shout out to those guys. Can I say that? Those
and
people.
Gals.
And gals. Sorry. Shout out to those people.
Shout out to all Aussies.
Love them.
And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at thehorrificpod@gmail.com, or feel free to comment on or message our Facebook page. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening.